The vast majority of our trade is with the United States.
I don't have a problem trading with China, but what I have a problem with is normalizing relations with China. We already know that China is an insidious and very subversive regime.
If you ask the average 30 to 40-year-old, hey, what's real GDP per capita and how's Canada performing on that? And the average Canadian 30 to 40-year-old, he's like, I don't know, bro.
That's not even them that I care about because they're conservatives. They want to change. They don't understand why to change, but they feel the pain. You know, the problems are the boomers.
We're prioritizing fighting with the United States when our grocery price inflation is 4.7% versus the United States 1.9%.
The millennials and the Zoomers as well are the most educated generation in the history of mankind. They've done everything that you told them to do. They've stayed in school, they got jobs, they work longer hours, and yet they don't have access to property. They don't have access to having families. They're more technologically savvy than you. They are more productive in the workplace than you, and yet they're broke.
Any Pakistani, any Indian, Bangladeshi, anyone from the Middle East, you tell them, look, there's the good ones and then there's the trash. And we're bringing in the trash and the trash is doing garbage things. And they will light up and they'll be like, oh, I get it. All right.
Welcome to the Right Call Podcast, everyone. Episode 105 today. My name is Elliot Daniel and I got my co-host here, Simmer.
How are you doing, Elliot?
I'm freaking great. Big Monday today. I just feel like the energy's there.
Yes, sir.
It's the energy's
rocking and rolling.
Rock and roll. I'd like to start the shout out to the Patreons. Everyone, you know who you are. We haven't had any new Patreons with Pierre, Tim, Sylvie, Celine, Aaron, Patrick, everyone. Welcome to the party. We love it. And if people want to subscribe, $8 a month, it's peanuts, or $9,000 a month if you want as well, if you're the CIA or CSIS or Mossad. But aside from that, yes, sir. Hey, this will be, I don't want to say the last episode because we're going to take a couple of weeks break because next week we shall both be in Calgary.
Potentially, yes.
Not potentially. I want you to say yes. I want you to commit right here in front of everyone. You're going to be in Calgary. Yeah, okay.
I'll confirm with you.
Yeah, I'll take that as a yes. So today on the chopping block, on the topic, we're going to talk about China. Prime Minister Carney decided to go to China to make some new buddy boys, some new friends. Yeah, I know. What used to be a conspiracy theory is now less a conspiracy theory. I used to say this. I say this all the time, and I will continue to say it. What's the difference between a conspiracy theorist and a regular person?
What?
6 months. So it's kind of the truth. What do you want me to say?
Good one.
Yeah, but it's so true.
Yeah.
Then a huge decision last week. Supreme Court, not Supreme Court of Canada, my bad. Appeals Court of Canada, Federal Appeals Court of Canada, ruling that the government is tyrannical and was tyrannical. Sir. And this, I'm not mincing my words here. It was tyrannical. They infringed your rights knowingly without motive. So we will grill them on that.
So the conservatives were right. Let's continue.
Conservatives were right indeed. And so were the conspiracy theorists. Okay.
Yes, sir.
It took a little bit longer with them, but whatever. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about a massive failure of the Netherlands, the Dutch, when it comes to integrating asylum seekers. This is actually one that breaks my heart. It's pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. I don't like to use the word pathetic, but that is pathetic that a civilization would do that to its people. And finally, also, we'll talk a little bit about, on my end, Canada's immigration, just to give numbers, because a report came out showing that we could all be investing very deeply into our future and our children's future, but instead we decide to, don't tell me you have it too.
You know what's funny? I love working with you because sometimes we come up with the exact same ideas to talk about. So I prepared a little thing about that too, but go ahead.
Awesome. Well, there you go. Then it'll be interlapping.
Yes, sir.
So yes, what about you, sir?
Well, I wanted to talk about, Mark Carney in China. That's a big deal. And I think that, he let the voters down with that. So we're going to talk about that. I prepared a whole segment on that, actually. I wanted to talk a little bit about some housing stats that came out, some inflation stats that came out, and what else? Just some stats about the UK, some stuff about the UK that happened. I prepared a little segment on that.
Nice.
And yeah.
Awesome.
Let's get into it.
Before we actually get into it, do you have a piece of paper in that satchel of yours?
I do not.
Shit. All right, guys, one sec. I need to be able to take some notes. I just realized I have a pen in my hand, but I have nothing to write on. All right. We're good. And we're back. Thank God for modern day editing. I tell you, we do just one cut, and here I am. Actually, maybe we'll leave it in. It was super, super quick. All right. So let's get started maybe with China, because this, oh my God. Oh my God. We're at a point now where we hate our southern neighbors so much. We hate the Orange Man. Orange Man so bad that we are running full speed ahead into the open arms of a dictatorial communist regime. And some Canadians, mostly one side of the political aisle, is rejoicing and celebrating, while simultaneously having mass amnesia about their Lord and Savior, Mark Carney, saying verbatim in Montreal 6 months ago that China was the greatest threat to our national security.
Yes, sir.
I'll let you take the lead.
Liberals as usual. Well, let's take a look at what's actually happening with Carney in China, right? So China's state media is openly urging Canada to drop the U.S. alliance and adopt strategic autonomy as Carney visits Beijing. So this is essentially China trying to influence Canada to realign its economic. Essentially, it's asking China. It's asking Canada to.
Well, let's call it this, okay? It's to let go of the status quo and to effectively go into what Carney so graciously described as a new world order.
Yes, sir. Okay. You got it. I was trying to get my words together.
Yeah, sorry. It's okay. It's a start. It's like we got to do some warm-ups before. You know?
Well, that's the thing, is that China is trying to influence Canada to reduce our reliance on our trade relationship with the United States. But the issue is that, and something Canadians don't really talk about often, or probably not, a lot of them are not even aware, is that the vast majority of our trade is with the United States.
Oh yeah.
Okay. 77% of our exports go straight to the United States. Okay. And only 4% of our exports go to China. All right.
Wow.
Canada receives 50% of its imports from the US. Okay. And only 12% of its imports from China. Canada's exports to the US represent roughly 1/4 of Canadian GDP. Okay, the US is Canada's largest export market by far, and China is a rounding error in comparison. Okay, and that's the issue. It's that it's one thing to have the rhetoric and the talk of the day on political channels, but it's another thing to tell businesses and tell people operating their own companies and their own industries, hey, we're not working with the United States anymore, when the vast majority of the country relies on our trade with the United States. And so this is a rhetorical pitch, but an economic disaster, and it's complete economic malpractice. That's what I would call that.
Well, what it is that it's the blind leading the blind with their feelings rather than logic and well-reasoned data, right? It's the president of the U.S. is mean, evil. He's all these things, right? He's dictatorial. They claim, they label this guy so many things without facts, by the way. He's like the opposite of a dictator. Literally, the Supreme Court has ruled against him before, and he's abided by it. He never held on to power. He left the office after his first term. I mean, everything points to the fact that he's a regular, good old American president. Perhaps he's America first. I support that. But he's not a dictator, and yet they're using the auspice of their own feelings. He says things I don't agree with. He's mean, and all these fluff, emotional talking points. And yet, if they were to sit down and realize the truth, the economic truth for Canadians, the reality of our shared border, our geography, our history, our connections, our integrated systems, you name it, there is nothing and no one that can replace the US and that can bring as much value, as much wealth, as much potential to Canada as the United States of America. Now, I am open and happy to diversify trade.
Yes.
Because you should never put all your eggs in one basket.
Yes.
But diversifying your trade is not about being delusional and thinking that any other country could replace the US. Even if China was to, even if we got on our knees and gobbled cheese, probably very puny schlong, well, I mean, he's Chinese, but that's true.
Okay.
You know, there's nothing China will do to replace the US. We are incapable. First of all, they're thousands of kilometers away. There's freight required. There's no infrastructure capability or commonalities between our systems. It's ludicrous and stupid.
That's what I wanted to talk about specifically, is that the geography really matters, okay? Yeah. And Canada and the United States share the longest undefended border in the world, okay? And I know this personally because I do business with American companies and I import frequently.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
And a lot of European goods I import through the United States, okay? And it is more inefficient for me to import from Europe than it is for me to just drive down to the border and pick it up myself. And so the logistical logic, the logistical reality and the integrated supply chains we have seamless transport and shared infrastructures. So to destabilize all that for political rhetoric shows how irresponsible the liberals are with their economic messaging. And Mark Carney's an economist, so he should know this. This is a very logical.
He knows this.
You know, he relocated his company headquarters to Brookfield to the United States, right? So they know that.
He knows that. I'm sure he knows that. Personally, now I'm going to put my little my tinfoil hat on. Okay, I'm going to say this. Maybe Carney is secretly America first as well. And here's what I mean by that, okay? He needs to give a pretext for Trump to actually do something about Canada. And having China, an American adversary, so cozied up to the north, maybe, because if you look at Carney, the reality, most of his wealth, and he is incredibly wealthy, and most of his interests, which is clearly Brookfield. I'm sure he puts Brookfield ahead of Canada's interests day in, day out. I mean, he was just in Qatar recently, I think yesterday or today, and he's like, oh, I made a deal with Qatar. Yeah, a deal that, you know, Brookfield just freaking secured $20 billion from Qatar. You know, everywhere Carney, this is really interesting, by the way. Map Carney's travel across the world and then map the headlines of Brookfield executives or board members. It's exactly the same within a few days, 2 weeks. I mean, sorry, one time, okay. 2 times, okay. But at this level, there's no coincidences anymore. This is purely utilizing the power, the influence, and the access of the Prime Minister of Canada for the benefit of a corporation. I am convinced of that. And you can call me a conspiracy theorist. In 6 months, you'll tell me I was right.
Where are the socialists?
Where are the socialists? But another point about China, though, okay? Yeah. Look, again, I'm all for doing trades with them. I don't have a problem trading with China. But what I have a problem with is normalizing relations with China. For example, we're going to be lifting visa requirements between the two nations and allowing more Chinese to come here and having more of us go there. And we already know that China is an insidious and very subversive regime. And this is very important. Okay, again, Canadians are cheering this on. It's a communist, dictatorial, single-party regime. Everything you accuse Donald Trump of being, China, in fact, is. They jailed dissenters, people who disagree with the government, jailed. By the way, they pollute recklessly. They are the world's largest polluter, you know, screw being green and whatever. They suppress free speech. That's a given. They genocide ethnic minorities. The Uyghur, or Uyghur?
Yeah.
In French, the Uyghur. Anyways, there's literal concentration camps and genocides happening with this ethnic minority. They interfered in our election. This has been confirmed by CSIS that China has interfered in our election. They've kidnapped our citizens, okay, and held them hostage for political motives. And they have, and probably still do, clandestine police stations in Canada, Chinese police stations that operate covertly under the auspices of being like a consulate or an embassy, and they monitor Chinese nationals on Canadian soil and go so much as intimidating and sometimes even abducting and kidnapping them on Canadian soil. This is not a conspiracy theory. This has been documented in mainstream media. And the left is cheering that on.
You know what's even funnier? The fact that the trade deal that Carney supposedly secured with China is not even that good for Canada.
EVs, wow.
Okay, no, beyond that. Okay, Chinese tariffs on Canadian canola seeds reduced from 85% to 15%. That was the main accomplishment, like canola seeds. Our canola seeds, our lucrative canola seeds, can go to China tariff-free, 4% of our exports. That's what Mark Carney is prioritizing to securing, as opposed to our greatest trade relationship with the United States, okay? And beyond that, it's the seeds that got the tariff reduction, not the actual oil. So if Canada exports canola oil to China, it's still going to get tariffed like crazy.
So it's just the seeds.
It's just the seeds, okay? There's no deal on China purchasing Canadian oil, okay? Actual oil, not canola oil.
You know, the ones that come in barrel. I'm sure they both come in barrels still.
I don't know. Sure. But, and China, what do they get? They get to flood Canadian markets with electric cars.
Yeah.
So who got the better end of the deal, according to you? China.
And by the way, and this allows them to kind of bypass a huge restriction that the U.S. had on them, because they've been trying to penetrate the North American market for a while, and the U.S. put tremendous pressure on allies not to allow that.
Yeah.
So we've effectively not only cozied up with a regime, a dictatorial regime, we've also backstabbed once again and once more our biggest ally, the U.S.
Yes.
And put probably another wrench in the cogs of making a deal with them.
Yeah. And we have to see the results of this kind of rhetoric, this kind of political strategy that the Liberals have been employing for over a decade now. This anti-production, anti-growth, fuck the Americans kind of attitude.
That was very French.
Let's see the results of that since 2015. Real GDP per capita. I want to put this up on the screen so everyone can see it.
Timu cars. Silver says they're Timu cars. It's so true. That's a good point, man.
So, since Justin Trudeau took office, the real GDP per capita between Canada and the US, while it was pretty much neck and neck for the last 20 to 30 years, okay, since 2015, there has been a decoupling, okay? And that's very clear that Canada, because of our anti-capitalist rhetoric, our fuck the US, we don't need to work with the US, why don't we, fuck Keystone XL, like obviously Joe Biden canceled that. But anyways, all this to say that because we haven't maximized our production and worked with the US and grown our economy with the US, like we have historically, Canadian workers suffered the most.
Yep.
Okay. And this is the result of this nonsensical trade war that we have with the US. While we should be working with the US, many countries got a trade deal signed with the US, got a trade deal signed with Mexico, got one. Okay. The narcotic capital of the world got a trade deal with Donald Trump, the president of the United States. But Mark Carney, the economist, cannot even get a modicum of a deal signed, and he's going to improve our relationship with China when 77% of our exports go to the United States. You cannot lock in a deal, you useless prime minister.
Well, you know what? At least even the Venezuelan people got a better deal from Trump.
Jesus.
The Greenlanders are going to get a better deal from Trump. Did you see that he wanted to pay each Greenlander $100,000 to join? I love it.
Dude, the Liberal Party of Canada is a joke. And if you're voting for this again and again and again and watching, just the real GDP per capita statistics of our country just falling apart in front of our very eyes, and you're not going to reallocate your strategy.
But the problem is that people don't understand. Like, to be honest with you, again, and this is why I think we should get involved, get in the streets. And by the way, I got some feedback regarding doing some investigative journal or doing some debates / interviews with people on the street. Everyone thinks it's a wonderful fucking idea for us to do that. But and we're going to see this. If you stop even college students, right, or university students, people that should know better, at JMSB, no less, okay, business school, and you ask them, can you explain to me what GDP per capita is? I bet you some of them would be like, and then they give you some
learning, but I don't know. I guess you're right.
But then if you go directly to the average Canadian, forget it. They don't understand what it means.
If you ask the average 30 to 40-year-old, hey, what's real GDP per capita and how's Canada performing on that? And the average Canadian 30 to 40-year-old, he's like, I don't know, bro.
It's not even the worst. It's not them. That's not even them that I care about, because they're conservatives. They want to change. They don't understand why to change, but they feel the pain.
A lot of them are.
They feel the pain. Yeah. The problems are the boomers. No, but they are. They absolutely are. Now, we do have a few boomers that we love, and you guys are not the problem. But your cohort are people that benefited massively from very liberal policies for a very long time, and that now are not impacted by this shitty economy that's left. And yet you still hold on to power and want to continue your ways when your kids, and most importantly, your kids' kids, are struggling and facing lower standards of living than you did, which, by the way, would be the first time in the history of mankind where a generation that is younger than you is facing lower economic growth and lower standards of living than you did. You've left us in worse shape, and that's fucked up.
And I have a statistic to back up your claim, ready to go, okay? Nearly half of Canadians say that they're just $200 away from missing a monthly bill, according to a new survey. So almost half of Canadians are $200 from bankruptcy.
Yeah.
That's what that says. That's the state of Canadian politics.
But it's even worse than that. It's even worse than that. We have more bankruptcy than the US.
Yes.
By a lot.
Yes.
3 times more.
Yes.
You know? No, but it's important because that's another thing we hear all the time. Oh, the Americans, they don't have free healthcare. They go bankrupt because of medical bill. We go bankrupt because we can't live. Sorry.
$200 away from missing a monthly bill. Okay, so $200 away from bankruptcy. That's half of Canadians, right?
Yeah.
And instead of prioritizing, like our trade relationship with the United States creates millions of jobs in this country. And for Mark Carney to prioritize selling canola seeds to China rather than resolving our trade relationship with our biggest trading partner, 77% of our exports go to the United States. The Prime Minister of Canada, the brilliant economist, can't get a deal locked down when half of Canadians are $200 away from bankruptcy.
Yeah.
It's egregious.
One thing also that annoys me is that, again, the boomers for the longest time kept saying, it's because you guys don't like to work. We don't, I'm going to say this. The millennials and the zoomers as well are the most educated generation in the history of mankind. They've done everything that you told them to do. They've stayed in school. They got jobs. They work longer hours. They work harder. And yet they don't have access to property. They don't have access to having families. They have failed to launch, not due to their lack of effort, not due to their lack of innovation. They're more technologically savvy than you. They are more productive in the workplace than you. As a matter of fact, the boomers are still the ones that ask you how to fucking export a freaking PDF, okay? And yet, they're broke. So it is a generational issue, and it's about time that they just, you know what? Go out to pasture, boys. You've had a great run. We'll take care of you. We'll make a deal. We'll take care. We're not going to shove you in long-term care facilities and let you guys be, have your ass wiped by a Haitian immigrant. We won't. We'll take care of you. Just let go of the reign. It's about time. Because you guys are turning into the dictators that you say Trump is by refusing to relinquish power. Let it go. It's over. You've had a good run. That's my plea to them.
That's fair enough, man, because even just last week, we were talking about a quarter of university students skipping meals to afford the cost of living, right? And the boomers, like you're saying, the liberals, the liberal voters, the clueless people who are not following the numbers are voting for this government again and again. And we see, for example, grocery price inflation. Take a look at the screen. Grocery price inflation, we're prioritizing fighting with the United States when our grocery price inflation is 4.7% versus the United States 1.9%. Instead of locking a trade deal, we're prioritizing this BS fight when we could be working with the United States and improving our economy. The United States has proven that in 1 year, they're able to lower their trade deficit so drastically with just some policy shifts.
It's crazy though. Again, just take a second to admire this. Our food inflation in 1 year was 4.7%. Grocery price inflation I'm talking about, whereas the US was only 1.9%.
Yes,
that
less
is
than half.
Less than half. That is huge because that is such a huge part of people's budgets and also quality of life. Let's be honest. Having your freaking belly full of quality, nutritious food also sets you up to be able to perform in society and uplifts you from poverty. So this right there is an attack on, sure, the middle class, but mostly poor or working class individuals, if anything.
The average person, anyone earning under $70,000 a year, and that's most Canadians.
Yeah. Oh, well, let's go to something cheerful. Let's go to something positive.
Like what?
Well, the federal courts of appeal ruling that
Yes.
Trudeau is a tyrant.
Yes.
And I mean that. You're a tyrant.
Wait, no. Carney is also a tyrant. And I have proof for that.
Yeah, sure. But in this instance, it's been verified that Trudeau was a tyrant. Oh, man. It's good to be vindicated, but at the same time, like, it pisses me off. So let's wrap it up. So the federal government lost an appeal that they brought in front of the Federal Appeals Court regarding a motion that was brought forth on the constitutionality and legality of the Emergencies Act when it was enacted.
Mm-hmm.
To summarize once again, during the height of the COVID lockdowns, there was hundreds of thousands of Canadians that gathered in the nation's capital of Ottawa to cheerfully, peacefully protest with bouncy castles and food and hot tubs and hockey games and shows. It was peaceful as hell. But yet, the government thought no. And it was starting to shift the sentiment of the general population against the government. The Liberal government panicked and ended up enacting, it's called the Emergencies Measures Act, but it's better known under its former name of the War Measures Act, an act that had only been used 3 times in the history of Canada before. World War I, World War II, and for the FLQ, so during the October crisis? It was, the terrorist organization in Quebec that was kidnapping and killing politicians. But Trudeau decided to use it on peaceful protesters, which led to government's officials, like police, being able to arrest people without due process, indefinitely, and with no official charges, detain you without a lawyer, without a court date so much as anything, allowed them to freeze your financial assets, your bank accounts, your credit cards, etc., and so much more, effectively infringing your chartered rights like it had never been done before. Oh, and most importantly, also telling you that you can't protest, which is a chartered right.
Mm-hmm.
So a lower court had found that it indeed did not meet the threshold of a national security threat. So the government was not justified in using it. So the government under Trudeau at the time appealed it, because obviously nobody likes to be told that you were wrong and that you're indeed a dictator.
Mm-hmm.
And federal courts of appeal upheld it. And they said the following. It's a panel, right? An appeals court is always a panel, this time 3 judges. And they wrote, as disturbing and disruptive the blockades and the convoy protests in Ottawa could be, they fell well short of a threat to national security, wrote the 3 judges. In that 2024 decision of the initial court, so the lower level court, Federal Court Justice Richard Mosley, since retired, said that the government's decision lacked justification, transparency, and intelligibility. So, furthermore, the appeals court said that there was no evidence that the lives, health, or safety of the people living in Ottawa were endangered. So this was purely a move to quench and to squash protests against your government, because, to be honest, it was getting to a point where you were going to lose Canada. They were going to topple you.
Yeah, and beyond that, what were those people protesting? They were protesting their civil liberties being restricted by a government who could not even handle the issue to begin with.
Yeah.
Okay, lockdowns, forced vaccinations, okay? Without any personal choice. You had to comply or you cannot work.
Yes.
That was a thing. And that was also, in my opinion, a violation of the charter. I think
absolutely. Absolutely.
The government violated the charter to quell protesters who were protesting for them violating the charter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Crazy,
and earlier I said that Mark Carney is a tyrant. Okay. Why is Mark Carney? He wasn't in power at the time. However, he was influencing the Liberal Party. He's been advising Justin Trudeau on the economy since 2021.
Yeah.
And I have a quote of him saying, "It's time to end the Freedom Convoy in Ottawa by enforcing the law and following the money." Well, Mr. Carney, it turns out that you weren't enforcing the law. You were the government that you represent was violating it. And same thing with Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland and these authoritarian radicals. Let's just call them what they are. They violated the charter. They violated your civil liberties and your right to earn an income And then when you protested it, they put you in prison, locked you down, and told you to shut up and froze your bank accounts.
Well put. That's pretty much what happened.
And that's what happened.
That's pretty much what happened. Now, here's the issue. What comes next? And the reality is, although it's nice to be vindicated and to, be told, you're right, the Emergency Measures Act should have never been enacted and the government was wrong. Where is the accountability? Right now, nothing's going to happen. Trudeau's off into the sunset with Katy Perry, or apparently she broke up with him. She wisened up, probably discovered that he was more of a pussy than she was. And Chrystia Freeland is out there with Zelensky, doing more tyrannical stuff out there, I'm sure. Nobody's going to be held accountable. But here's the thing. If you, as a private citizen, had infringed on the chartered right of another individual, you would be held to the highest standard and prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Mm-hmm. You would be thrown in jail or face severe civil fines. But yet your government, elected by you and entrusted to safeguard those very chartered rights, infringed upon them, confirmed twice by 2 different courts, and nothing comes of it. So it's good to know you won that, but we also need to hold these criminals accountable, and they are criminals. That's my take.
Well, honestly, really, we know nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to come out of this. No one's going to go to jail. Nothing's going to happen.
They have immunity.
The voters need to hold the government accountable by voting them out, but they didn't.
Yeah.
Right? How quick they were to forget, a lot of them. A lot of them didn't. A lot of us, people like you and me, I don't forget that. I remember all the dynamics. I remember Jagmeet Singh calling other Sikh protesters Nazis in a way by labeling the entire by labeling the entire Freedom Convoy movement with one Nazi flag. Mm-hmm. Okay. He also criticized his own people protesting in that protest. So I remember all those things and how people like Jagmeet kept the liberal government, the authoritarian liberal government in power. What a disgrace to Sikhism that man is.
Yeah.
Okay. And beyond that, Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland, the arrogant, pompous attitude they had when they were telling Canadians that we're suffering against authoritarian regulation, that they were wrong, that they're going to freeze their bank accounts, their livelihoods for donating $20 to the Freedom Convoy.
Yeah, that's messed up, because there were anecdotes documented in media of a single mother of 3 kids who, when she saw that the truckers were on their way to Ottawa, it gave her hope, because she had been in the gutter for 2 years, locked into her home, unable to earn a living, struggling because the CERB was barely covering the bills. And it gave her hope, and she scrambled $5 that she had and donated it to the cause. And she had her fucking bank accounts frozen because of that under the Emergencies Act. How fucking despicable. That, to me, it's why haven't we, and I gotta be careful what I say, especially in Canada, but why haven't we gone back to Ottawa and just held people accountable?
Well, honestly, it comes down to dumb liberal voters and uninformed liberal voters. They have to recognize that when the government violates your charter rights, it's not a left and right issue anymore. Mm-hmm. It's not the conservatives are a bad issue anymore. Yeah. You have to take accountability
That's a good point.
For what it is you're voting for.
That's a great point. That's one thing that should transcend politics. That's one thing that should transcend any partisanship. It's that chartered document, the Charter of Rights and Freedom of Canada is something that we should hold to extreme levels of contemplation and desire to protect it. And this, again, it does not matter if you're right or left, up or down. This document should be sacred. And instead, it was desecrated.
Yes. And let's flip the script for a second, okay? Let's say the conservatives did this, okay? Let's say Aaron O'Toole won the last election, that election when he lost to Trudeau, and then the Emergencies Act, all that stuff happened, and he did the same thing as Justin Trudeau.
Yeah.
My tune would not change.
Oh, exactly.
I would not say anything differently, because I care that a lot of my fellow Canadians were suffering under the garbage economic policies that the Liberals put us through during the COVID era, the lockdowns, the stopping economic activity, the dumbest moves you can actually make from a logical business standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
the leaders made those decisions.
Yeah. No, absolutely. This is not partisanship at all. And that's one thing. You've heard me talk shit and criticize the conservatives before. Do I like the conservatives more than the liberals? Yes. But do I mean, like, if they do something I disagree with, I will hold them to account, because that's called having integrity.
They broke the law.
There you go. There you go. So, guys, at least let's rejoice a little bit. Tiny little victory. The court sided with us. Now, by the way, the government, the attorney general, said that they were looking at the options and maybe they might appeals to the Supreme Court. If I was Carney, I wouldn't. Like, strategically, just like speculative here, if I was Mark Carney, even if I agreed with everything and I disagree with the court's decision, I would just not do anything. Why? Because right now it's easy to pass it off as Justin Trudeau's mistake. But if you now give the order to your attorney general to appeal it to the Supreme Court, now it becomes your mistake if the Supreme Court rules still again in the favor of the plaintiff in this claim.
They're just going to bury it under the carpet.
At this point,
let it roll out.
Yeah, especially considering that, like, even CBC barely reported it. It was like, it came out. I was on a radio show in Toronto when it came out with Brad. I fucking love Brad. That guy's great. And we were waiting for the announcement, and then we had one of the lawyers from the plaintiff in the case from the Canadian of Constitutional Freedoms, I believe it's called, and or the Canadian Constitutional Foundation, one of the two. And that's exactly what we're talking about. It's just like, they're just going to try to brush it under a rug. And then, like, by the time the show ended, it was like 20 minutes later, it was already not front page anymore on CBC. Of course, like, wow. Yeah, well done.
It's against their interests.
Yeah. Something that's also against our interests, however, still in Canada, is okay. Well, yeah, you want? Okay, we'll finish Canada and then we'll.
No, you're good.
Okay,
go ahead. I was just scrolling.
So another thing that's against Canadian interest is the following. So Canada spends enough on immigration to pay Canadians $157,000 per child. And yet, we choose immigration anyway. So, in 2023, Canada spent an estimated $45 to $65 billion on immigration-related costs across federal, provincial, and municipal governments. And this is something that I'm sure TikTok's going to love. That total includes asylum housing, settlement services, healthcare, education, enforcement, and transfers to municipalities for managing the intake. Well, Canada recorded approximately 350,000 live births in 2023. Using the midpoint of immigration spending of roughly $55,000 billion, this equals to roughly $157,000 per Canadian-born child if the same funds were instead allocated to domestic family support. Even using the low-end estimate of $45 billion, the figure remains $125,000 per child.
Mm-hmm.
You know, officials have consistently framed immigration as a demographic and economic necessity, citing labor shortages and population aging. However, the spending profile suggests immigration functions as a near total substitute for domestic population growth rather than to supplement it. Let's keep in mind that no comparable national program exists that offers Canadian families support at this scale. Existing child benefits and tax credits amount to a fraction of the per capita resources currently directed towards immigration-driven population growth. Guys, this is insanity.
Yeah.
We are prioritizing foreigners over our own people. It's true that our birth rate is too low. We've spoken about this many, many times. It's been a war horse of mine. But instead of focusing on improving the odds economically through tax breaks like Poland's doing, have 2 kids and don't pay income tax anymore, through bonuses, through support, we're instead just importing third worlders, sorry, for the most part, that is the truth, and giving them hundreds of thousands of dollars of value at the expense of us.
And I'm gonna take this out of your hands for a second.
Do it.
Because I am a son of immigrants,
Mm-hmm.
and so I feel some type of way regarding these statistics as well. Okay, we're not importing quality people that are trained in a specific field, that want to work for a specific company and grow our economy. We're importing either students, which I'm all for in to a certain extent, right? Obviously within reason. I love bringing in students that have an opportunity to grow in the country. Maybe they get a job in Canada. They grow. Great. Okay. My issue is randoms. Just anybody just walking in. Okay. Recently in Canada. And I say this as a Sikh. Okay. Gurkaran Singh, Abhijit Singh, and Kushveer Tour have been charged with breaking into an elderly couple's home in Abbotsford, beating the wife and choking the husband both to death in 2022. One of the accused arrived in Canada a month earlier on a student visa.
Oh my God. Fuck. Now that pisses me off, man.
It rattles me because, once again, we've talked about this. When our immigration system was responsible, my Sikh people came to Canada and really built a great reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we worked hard, we worked honestly, we grew our businesses, we didn't commit crime, we didn't violate, we trained ourselves, we paid our taxes, we learned French, blah, 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 blah. Okay? These guys are just random bums that have just been let into the country. And India, countries like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, the Middle East, okay, countries in the Middle East, like any country in the Middle East, okay, they have their fair share of garbage. Garbage people with garbage values who don't care. They're gangsters, they're mobsters, they're thieves, they're rapists. They assault underage kids sexually. They do the most disgusting things. Okay, and you want me to bring receipts? I'll bring receipts. Okay, they completely ruined the reputation of long-standing immigrants that have been working hard, integrating into the community, whether they came from Hindu, Sikh, Muslim backgrounds. And these new immigrants that don't respect the culture, don't respect the community, and don't even value their opportunity for immigration. Those older immigrants that came here in the 80s, 90s, they saw their opportunity to come into Canada, to come into the United States, Europe, as like this privilege, this great privilege and blessing. We're going to come to this country and we're going to work hard to make it better. We're going to start our businesses. We're going to grow this capitalist system with them. And we have a ton of millionaires in the United States that are Indian.
Yep.
A ton of them. Okay. We have a lot of successful Indian families and Muslim families and Hindu families that have integrated into the culture. But we also have the garbage. Okay. And even the Indians and the Arabs and they all know about it. It's not some
conspiracy.
It's not some conspiracy.
Oh.
You tell an Indian person, hey, there's garbage in India that we're importing. Just bad people, we call them gunde.
Gunde.
Gangsters.
Oh.
I had this conversation with my family actually the other day. Okay. I told my parents like this immigration crisis is a disaster. And they're like, yeah, we have a lot of people. I'm like, no. They're garbage. And my parents got offended for a second because they're immigrants. And they were like, no, but Simmer, like, we're immigrants. And I'm like, yes, but we're not importing like nice, classy immigrants that care. We're importing the gunde.
The gunde.
And my mom immediately, it lit up. Like she remembered like her life in India and like these garbage people with no values. They have no opportunity and they don't care about it. They're not trained and they don't know anything. It's like letting in a savage animal to an extent. Okay. And my mom looked at me and she was like, oh. Okay. And you say this to any like Pakistani, any Indian, Bangladeshi, anyone from the Middle East, you tell them, look, there's the good ones and then there's the trash. And we're bringing in the trash and the trash is doing garbage things. And they will light up and they'll be like, oh, I get it. All right. Makes sense.
It's a good point.
And that's an off the cuff. I did that piece YOLO. I did not prepare that.
Good. They're much better when they're not prepared, to be honest with you. It's good.
Yeah.
Me personally, when I prepare stuff, I like to have like a few metrics or like a few talking points just to like keep me on track. But like for the most part, bro, it's off the cuff. Here's my opinion in the moment. Some days I'm feeling down. Some days I'm feeling up. Some days I'm feeling freaking energetic right now.
Yeah.
I'm not even on the zinnies. But talking about more of the gunde. Let's talk about the gunde, but not in Canada. Let's talk about the gunde in the Netherlands. This one is such a cautionary tale. This type of thing is, again, where virtuous or the desire to virtue signal, the desire for suicidal empathy ends up destroying fucking lives, and it pisses me off. So, in the Netherlands, 125 students were forced to live with 125 asylum seekers in what was called a integration experiment. The result? Multiple sexual assaults and knife violence. The project was presented as a progressive and humane endeavor. A student housing complex in Amsterdam would house 125 students and 125 refugees together, with the promise that shared living would foster understanding, inclusion, and social cohesion. Well, a Zembla investigation that came out January 15th, 2026, this year, documented assaults, including confirmed rapes. Police reports show a total of 7 sexual assaults. The only one who was ever convicted, because you know how police, they love to brush it under the rug because they don't want to be seen as being, anti-immigration. The only one that was convicted was a Syrian refugee named Mohammed, who was convicted in 2024 of 2 rapes. And this, again, is even though 7 sexual assaults have happened or been reported. Apparently there's more, they just haven't been reported. The investigation found 20, as a matter of fact. Just 7 reported. To give you a little bit of an idea in terms of metrics, the Netherlands right now has a rape rate of 13.3 per 100,000 people. Well, this experiment, if it was a country on its own, has a rape rate, and of the 7 sexual assault reported to police, by the way, not the 20 that are alleged. This experiment has a rape rate of 2,800 per 100,000, or also nearly 21,000% higher than the Netherlands. Inside the complex, former residents say that reality quickly diverged from the promise. Students described an atmosphere marked by harassment, stalking, physical violence, and repeated sexual assaults that went on for years, turning what was supposed to be a student housing into a place of constant anxiety. Multiple residents say reports were filed, complaints were raised, and warnings were issued. Housing manager and authorities were made aware that students were living in unsafe conditions, yet the project continued with little meaningful intervention. We put our trust in government to protect us, and this is what they reward us with. This is textbook definition of suicidal empathy. And our people, our most vulnerable, our youth, our women, and our elderlies are suffering. That was my take. I'm take. Pissed off, and I love how I went do at the end. I heard this is gonna come out on the audio. This is crazy, deep moment. That's amazing. It's good. It's lively. But yeah, fucking Europeans, man. Europeans and Canadians were very similar to them, right? But we just don't have it. It just ain't it. What we're doing right now is the dumbest shit in the world. Was the other men's social?
Speaking of dumbest shit in the world. Mm-hmm. Do you know what happened in the UK?
Yes, tell me.
We made a piece that went kind of, I don't know, semi-viral on Instagram.
It always goes viral on Instagram.
And we talked about where we were talking about the UK government implementing digital ID and mandating it for the right to work.
Yes.
Okay. 5 days ago, it was announced that the government has dropped the plans for mandatory digital ID to work in the UK.
That's amazing.
Your voice matters.
That's amazing.
I was so happy to hear that. Obviously, there was backlash. I guess that's what caused the government to stop this. But I know we were talking about it when it was becoming a major issue, and I'm really proud to have been part of that. I'm really proud to have made a piece. I'm not even from the UK. I love the UK. I know a lot of people that live there, and I'm happy for them.
I mean, sometimes the stereotypes are real. You know?
But then, speaking of, being a Sikh,
yes.
Apparently in the UK, this happened recently, okay? And Turning Point UK covered it.
Okay.
200 Sikhs gathered outside a groomer's house in West London. Now, for reference for our listeners, there is a grooming issue in the UK where mostly Pakistani and some Indian men are kidnapping underage children, like young girls usually. And, you know, usually it's girls from broken homes and stuff like that they're exploiting, trying to have relationships with. And there's so many clips online, and I could play a clip, but there were 200 Sikhs that gathered outside of a supposed groomer's house, and they knew, like, everyone in the building knew, a lot of people in the community know that this person was exploiting children, because kids were always going in and out of that place. And it was just, anyways, people knew. And so do you want to see a clip of that? I'd love to play this.
Let's put a clip. Here, let's try to do this.
Maybe the UK can start addressing this issue, because this is a massive, massive, massive issue.
Come on, you pervert! Listen, mate, we're not here to cause a problem, yeah? We just want a word with you. Open the door, mate. We want to know if you want this why that girl at the age of 14 was groomed and then made to run away from home at the age of 16 by a man that's in his early 40s. Tomorrow, that could be your daughter, your sister. I know you're there watching me at the door, my friend. Open the door. Mate, if I was you, I'd look out the fucking window. There's over 200 of us there, mate. This problem ain't gonna go away. It's your best bet. Let that fucking girl go home. I'm telling you now, because you ain't gonna be able to show your face in public again. I promise you that. Do you understand what that guy is? He's a paedophile. He's a paedophile. There's been 2 other cases which involves him. You don't even know he's talking to other girls.
There's a grooming gang. It's all over the social media as well. This guy in the early 40s, he's groomed this girl from the age of 14 onwards. Right. Yeah, but she's at 16. He's made her run away from home. Now she's been living here. He's getting all his mates, right? They're all having and shit. They're bringing her over, and she's so loved up with him. She don't want to leave.
There's many people in the whole of the community that aren't happy with him, right? If someone else does something to him, we're not responsible. So at least now we're telling him he better not do nothing, and he better let go of the girl, and he better just end the relationship.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of people out there that could do something, and I can't say no. I'm not saying we're going to do something.
Now, this is a pretty awesome thing that I think happened, because for the longest time, this issue was repressed and not discussed at all in the country.
Yeah.
Okay. The mayor, Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London, refuses to acknowledge the existence of this issue. Okay. Why? Because a lot of his constituents are participating probably in it. And, you know, before this gets, turned around on me and you start calling me names like I'm this horrible person bringing this to your attention.
You horrible person bringing this to my attention.
I saw, let me see if I could find it. I might need a couple of minutes to show this to you.
It's okay.
This is off the cuff, so I kind of just...
In the meantime...
Go ahead.
Yeah, but you know, it's funny, because did you also see that in the UK, speaking on the UK, how Keir Starmer invalidated a bunch of municipal or council election, as they're called over there, because those councils would vote majoritively to the right, and he found some legal loopholes, some administrative reason why to cancel those elections. This is tyranny, my friends. This is what happens when, again, you let these leftists into power. They love to hold on to it through any means necessary. Again, all the things that they call Donald Trump, they're the things that they're guilty of. One of the oldest tricks in the book, by the way, in politics, but in life in general as well, is accuse the other side what you are guilty of doing. Because then, if you try to hold the person who did something bad accountable, it looks like you're just deflecting. You're just taking it off of you. It's the greatest thing. That's why controlling a narrative and truly attacking someone for something, even if it's false, tends to be the best move to make. Not saying to do it, by the way. It's vile. Don't lie.
I can't find the clip, but here, I'll just tell you what the clip was. Essentially, it was a recent migrant, probably Pakistani, who, in the UK, people have become so tired of this grooming gang issue that they make like these little groups like
neighborhood watches.
Yes, neighborhood watches. And what they'll do is they'll try to trap like Chris Hansen
to catch a predator.
Yeah, they'll try to catch a predator.
Why don't you
They'll
have
make
a seat over there?
yeah, like a citizen. They'll try to make like a citizen's arrest kind of thing, and it's non-violent. Typically, what they're doing is they'll find a groomer or someone who's trying to groom or attempting to groom, and they'll corner him and they'll say like, "What are you doing today? Why are you here?
Yeah.
What are these messages you've been sending to this child about doing this and wanting to do that?" And I've seen so many people get caught by these Citizens Watch group. And do you know what these people refer to? They say that, because they're Muslim, they say that, hey, our culture allows this. And they say that it's part of Sharia law and we follow Sharia law.
Wow.
So they're essentially using their own religion, their own faith as a scapegoat as to why they're out here trying to be pedos. And it's completely disgusting, honestly. It just disgusts me. There's no other way to say it. Like, get your shit together. Okay, and let's stop importing this trash so that even the good Muslims that, do business, that are normal, awesome people, some of the best hospitality you'll ever see in the world is by classy Muslim families. Those people get besmirched by these garbage human beings. That's what I'm going to call them. I'm not going to say the politically correct thing anymore. I'm just going to call them trash people. You behave like trash, you get called trash.
Well, Gunde. It sounds like good day. Speaking of hospitality,
have a good day.
Yeah. It's true though that the Middle Eastern are so good at hospitality. You look at the state of aviation in the world. The best airlines are Middle Eastern airlines, Etihad or Emirates or even Qatar Airways. Dude, they are dope. The next best, Asian airlines, except for Indian Airlines. Sorry, Indian Airlines is the world's worst. Sorry. But like mostly Japanese I'm talking about here, right? So JAL and ANA, these airlines are crazy. Then European airlines are not too bad, like internationally, Air France, KLM, the likes.
Yeah, KLM's cool.
SAS, yeah, I fly KLM. Well, my status is with Delta, so Delta is part of SkyTeam, and as such, it's always them I fly, so KLM. And then we have the U.S. airlines, like Delta is number one in the U.S. for sure. American is shit. Sorry, guys. United is like meh. And then we have Canada. And Canada's makes me laugh. First of all, Air Canada should be called Air Late, but or Air Delayed. But did you see the WestJet controversy over the last couple of weeks?
No.
So WestJet, there was this man and this woman, this family effectively, mother, father, like elderly, and their daughter maybe in their 30s or 40s, and they've boarded a plane, and the daughter's recording the father who's sitting in his economy row seat. And no room for his knees. None. And the man looks like a normal height guy. There's no leg room at all. The pitch, right? The pitch is like from the end of one seat to the beginning of your seat is, I think it was 17 inches or even less than that. It was the lowest in pretty much the entire world. And those are new seats that WestJet was trialing. They had only retrofitted a few jets with it. And the backlash was intense because, again, this man couldn't even go in. Ryanair, fucking Wizz Air, EasyJet has more legroom than WestJet. And WestJet's supposed to be a full fare, full service airline. If it was like one of those super cheap airlines, okay, there's a point to be made. They charge full fare. It's a competitor to Air Canada. And then, of course, our PR team came out saying, we are aware of it. However, we did a testing with our executives. A team of 10 of our executives sat in and tested it. And, they approved it. People started making fun of them. They sat in on the runway, at the pad at the fucking gate just to sit in for 3 seconds. Did anyone fly more than 10 minutes in it? Anyways, finally, again, you mentioned it. Raise your voice. Hold these people to account. WestJet, 2 days ago, came out saying they heeded the voice of the people and they were going to, halt the retrofit because they were going to retrofit all their jets with that shit. And 2, they were looking at bringing back the old seat configuration for the 6 or 8 jets that they had already done it with. Now, that's a private company. It's not a private company, it's publicly traded, but you know what I mean. It's not a government agency, but speak up.
Yeah.
You don't have to be. It's hard sometimes, and I know it's scary, dude. Believe me, I get death threats, nearly daily. I woke up the other day this weekend to this native because I made a video explaining why the U.S. might want Greenland for national security. And this native from Canada, who's not a Greenlander, but, they stuck together, came out saying that he couldn't wait for him to show me what it's like to lose my home, my wife, and my life. Effectively a death threat right there. And I was like, I don't have a wife. I do have a life, however. Please don't take it. No, but like, honestly, these kinds of people, they're... And okay, and furthermore, let's make that comment because you're coming to the party in Calgary, okay? So an announcement was made by the pleb about this upcoming party. Just like a little poster, a picture of Mario Zelana, the pleb, Jasmine Lane, and who else is on it? Just someone else. Oh, Mario Nixon. Not Mario Nixon, Mark Nixon, my bad. Ooh. So Mark Nixon's on it too, saying like there's a party, la 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 la. Well, the cuckoos, didn't make anyone wait, and they came out and drove, and they started saying stuff like, wouldn't it be funny if there was a big explosion in that place and all of a sudden Canada was freed from these people,
Wow.
Right away, within 1 day of announcing that party, which I will be attending, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of you, including the crazy lunatic leftists. I love a little controversy. I really love controversy. I think it's a beautiful thing. It's a great tool. But these people are already making death threats, bomb threats, violence threat against an event because these people, our side, does not share the same views as them. But they love and they dare call themselves the righteous voice.
Yeah, they do it in the name of tolerance.
But
Good job, liberals.
But it makes sense because their thought process is this. I'll explain their thought process very simply. And nothing was better exemplified than when they said, you need to punch a Nazi in the head or in the face. They have convinced themselves through mass hysteria and also propagated through the mainstream media that we are literal Nazis or fascists or like the enemy of the people.
Yeah.
And to them, in order to protect the disenfranchised and the weak little sheeps of this world, they must attack and kill the wolves. They see themselves as sheepdogs.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, they're behaving like the fucking wolves. A sheepdog does not start violence. A sheepdog is there to protect in the event that violence is applied to the sheep. We're going to host a party, guys. We're going to have a little fun. Maybe get a little tipsy. Talk some shit. Live stream. Jesus, fuck. You guys are the ones that are acting like the brown shirts. So there you go. On that note, was there anything else to cover?
I love that, we did that little airlines spiel. Like you did a little off the cuff airlines. It's like we got off the political topic for a second. Hey, do you listen to music, Elliot? Do you like music?
I'm not an expert as much as you. I know you're a music producer. You produce.
Yeah, I've made music my whole life.
That's awesome.
And I love listening to like rock and metal. I'm big metal.
What's your favorite band?
Dude, this is what I want to talk about quick before the end of the show. I love this band called Deftones. I've been listening to them since I'm a kid, since I'm like 14 years old. Okay, and I love artists when they have the loyalty to their fan base that they will stick to their sound to an extent. Mm-hmm. I love artists like exploring different sounds and trying new things, but I also like people sticking to what they're best at, what they're recognized for, and what they're loved for. And this band, Deftones, released an album recently. I got to see them live at the Bell Center, which the Bell Center has horrible sound, as I'm sure. I don't know if you've ever been to a concert at the Bell Center.
I've never been to a concert in my life.
They need to like treat that room with like acoustic treatment so that the reflections are so bad you can't even hear the music. And anytime I've ever gone to the Bell Center for a concert, it's been like the worst experience, okay? But I got to see them at the Bell Center, and they performed super well, and they released a new record recently. And I've been just blasting this one song again and again. And I just want to share it with the viewers. If you like the band, check it out. It's called Milk of the Madonna by a band called Deftones.
Well, we did have a comment. I saw someone said Deftones rocks. So clearly.
Yeah. No, they're a very well-known band, but they released a new record, and it's a great record. And I love it that even after 20 years, a band can just get down and dirty and just make a great record that I'm just playing in my car again and again. I listened to Milk of the Madonna like maybe like 400 times in the last like 3 months.
Well, Deftones, this is your moment to send Simmer over here a royalty check.
Big shout out.
A royalty check.
I love that after 20 years they made one of my favorite songs, and that's like awesome. That's
amazing,
super awesome.
Man. See, but one day you're gonna have to show me some of the music you produce.
Yes,
I'd love
absolutely.
to see this. On that note, guys, thank you so much. We'll be off the air for 2 weeks, and we'll be back hopefully with a shit ton of funny stories from I don't know, the Calgary Gal
If I
events.
show up, we're gonna have fun.
You're showing up. He's fucking showing. DM this guy. Tell him to fucking show up. All right. And if you want to support the channel, Patreon. We love you guys. But until then, cheers.
Next time.